Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today it is with great pride that I'm unboxing Yamaha's brand new 2020-2021 RX-V4A, their new 4K/8K home theatre amplifier at the most amazing price point ever delivered. It's an improvement in every element. It's a trickle down of all of the stuff Yamaha is renowned for, and it's beautiful and sonically superior to everything in its class. So let's have a look. Firstly, it is fully featured. The big one, of course, is MusicCast. Yamaha's architecture associated with multi-room and streaming is now on board of the vast majority of their amplifiers, and certainly these latest ones. MusicCast allows for the streaming of AirPlay, AirPlay 2, Bluetooth, streaming off your phone via Wi-Fi, absolutely everything. Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, computers, you name it. All of it on board of a theatre amplifier. Plug in, of course, any decent, credible source, and you've also got 8K and 4K from PCs and game consoles. The boxing is relatively muted with a big colour panel sticker on one side. There's basic model and serial number information on one end, a very muted panel, and it's taped closed. So as far as opening this is really straightforward. Simple nicks, and we're in. The product itself is very well packaged with 4 pieces of polystyrene supporting the amplifier and frame. There is a little, I'll just cut that away. There's a little note here to talk about the firmware updates associated with it. To get these manufactured and shipped, they're not necessarily running the latest firmware. So this is a very handy hint. As soon as you connect this to a network, grab a software update and it will start performing as it should. The second thing in here is the bag of accessories. Again, that's sellotaped in place, so a couple of simple nicks. The accessory bag contains an FM and DAB aerial, a little bit of an international slip for communication with Yamaha's partners internationally, and product registration and QR codes. It's got some information about Spotify, a basic, actually this one's pretty cool, full colour, basic setup. It's about A3 in size and folds down. And then of course Yamaha's manual. Most of the information nowadays is held on the internet because for obvious reasons any printed manual is out of date the moment this product might be released. I mean, by the time it's been printed, any number of different software updates may now be now available. In the polystyrene packaging, we've got some AAA batteries. We've got Yamaha's YPAO setup mic. Now, it's astonishing to see such a wonderful example of Yamaha's technology trickling down to such an affordable home theatre amplifier. The YPAO mic setup is now so accurate in the way that it operates that you pretty much put it at ear level in the seating position, push a few buttons, and it's done. So easy. So good to see. There's also a full function remote control. This remote control is black with a few coloured buttons, including some of the more useful buttons and the scene selections at the top. It's worth mentioning the scenes. You can program any element of this home theatre amplifier and call that up as a global preset, which they call scenes. That's an excellent feature. Okay, polystyrene. Now the amplifier itself is relatively light. This is a junior entry-level product. Again, well supported. There we go. Opening it from its sort of poly paper is very straightforward. Simple nick, and away we go. And this is where the new look becomes apparent. Firstly, we see a real departure on the classic Yamaha look, which would see a volume control and input selector at opposing sides of the amplifier. we now see a very central volume control. This is a rotary encoder for the purposes of controlling the amplifier. And then you see a basic input selector here, and a combination of things as far as a touch screen or touch sensitive parts of the screen. We see Yamaha's logo and a beautiful curved front, moving across to zone control and pure direct, all touch sensitive. You see a big rotary encoder for the volume control, and then the 4 scene buttons which are emulated from the remote on the front. You've got return and menu functions here, and then of course the select and input for control, input selection and setup in a rotary encoder with a nice little click for enter. Beneath that we've got the main standby button. This is just standby, and USB, which will also provide 5V 1A. The USB input will happily allow for streaming off smartphones and things like that directly if you require, but I guess most people would be using Bluetooth or maybe their Wi-Fi connection if you're doing so. There's a 3.5mm input on the front specific to the YPAO mic, and a 6¼ output for headphones. There's a model number on the opposite corner, and as I tilt it forward again we have a look at a departure, and please hang around for some photographs. I'll take some close-ups. The traditional slots that are associated with ventilation and so many things nowadays is now met with a slight design change with a cross-hatching, and it's lovely to see a little elegant change because, hey, this is a beautiful product and they've thought about it. The cross-hatching continues along one side, and at the rear we start to see where some of the magic happens. Again, like previous models, we see the use of 2 aerials. 2.4 and 5 GHz Wi-Fi, and it will support wireless rears, I think. We have, beside the aerial, one of the HDMI outputs. Now that's clearly labelled with some white cross-hatching to indicate that this is an output. It's emulated, by the way, down here as the other output for the subwoofers. This is a 5.2 amplifier, so it will run the dual subs. If I understand correctly, and it's set up, you can tell it whether or not those are front subs or one's rear and one's front. Beside the HDMI out are 4 HDMI ins. These are all 4K 120Hz or 8K compliant. You've got a network socket for the purposes of obviously hardwiring this, and that's our recommendation should you be doing any real streaming. Wi-Fi just doesn't tolerate the kind of bandwidth that a network plug will. Beneath it, as I mentioned, we have the 2 subwoofer outputs, and over to one side we have the aerial connection for FM and DAB. Beneath that is a basic setup just to remind you how you might wish to connect this, with a television, centre speaker and rears clearly implied in its line drawing. There's a fixed power cord, and beneath that is some information about its voltage requirements. Obviously underneath the inputs we've got connections for centre, front and rears. In this amplifier you can run a second zone. They call it zone B because it's not really a traditional second zone, but it does give you the ability, if you're not running this in a home theatre environment, of selecting it to do in a second room if you wish. Obviously, not to forget the optical and coaxial input to ensure that the television audio return can be emulated in an optical, or other things can be used via coax. Okay. So, this beautiful little entry-level product from Yamaha, the RX-V4A, brand new, and very proud to be sharing it today as we unbox it here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.